How are you? Welcome to my kitchen again. Get a pencil and a piece of paper and hurry along with me because today we're going to do so much at once in order to understand and celebrate an egg pie called a quiche. Now, a couple of years ago, some cat wrote a document, you remember, that said, real men don't eat quiche? Well, I'm ready for you. And today, we're going to learn some very interesting variations on a classic dish that probably came out of France, 300 years ago, probably the Lorraine region, Alsace-Lorraine, in the the northeastern portion of France, where it almost hits Germany. The Germans also claim they invented this pie, so I don't know who invented the egg pie, but we're going to do it. Your first question, of course, is, Smith, if you're trying to tell me that you're going to cut down on fat and salt and you're making eggs for dinner, why are you doing this? Well, first of all, remember that if you enjoy eating eggs, they're very high in protein. They do have a lot of cholesterol in them, but much less than meat. So if you're going to save your egg eating for dinner instead of breakfast, eat some good grains for breakfast, that sort of thing, good toast and black coffee, and have a good time, then you can afford a few eggs at night. And the quiche that I'm going to show you today is simple, and it takes 1.5 eggs per serving. So you see, you're getting much less cholesterol in the long run. All right? Now, show you how to make a pie crust, first of all. This one comes from my mother, and it's a riot. Very simple dish. A pie crust is always a pain for people, or very often, but this one's simple. I have a half a cup of peanut oil, and I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of milk, so that I now have 3/4 of a cup of liquid, right? Boy, this place is so crowded today, I can't even set anything down. I'm going to put that into my mixer bowl, and I will now prepare the flour, salt, and baking powder mixture. We want 2 cups of flour. Yes, I have recipes. Somebody wrote in the other days, what do you do with, do you always have recipes with you, or do you just memorize all this stuff? Well, when you're doing pie crust, you've got to have the right amounts. Measure carefully and skim it off at the top, that sort of rot, you see? There we go. 2 cups of flour. Any kind of good flour will do. You don't have to use anything fancy. And we want a bit of 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Where is that? Here it is. And baking powder is a snap, you see? 1, 2, and I want a pinch of salt, teaspoon or so, half teaspoon or so. That's plenty. We'll mix that up first. Have you got the recipe now for a pie crust that has little work in it, no animal fat at all? I have a half a cup of milk, 1/4 of a cup of milk into a half a cup of oil. 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a little bit of salt. And we'll get that on our machine here, and we're ready to go. I don't know if I'm going to have time to roll this out for you today or not. And if you're sitting at home saying, Agnes, I wonder if you can roll a pie crust. Well, it's none of your business. None of your business at all. Just throw it in there. We'll put on our... I just love these machines. You don't have to do so much work in the kitchen. Just mix this now for a short time, just until it begins to hold together. There we go. It won't be long. There it is. Okay, time's up. You see? And we now have a pie crust. This will make 2 9-inch pie crusts. Or if you're using a larger container than a 9-inch pie plate, then of course you have to use a little more of the mix. But I think we'll, let's see, we're going to get onto that. Now, show you how to form that. There. You see how nice and moist this is? It's very easy to use, and it will flake nicely. It will flake nicely when it bakes. And that's what we want. Now, for a 9-inch pie crust, you want exactly half of the dough. You see? So half we'll use here, and the other half we'll put away. Now, I don't have time to roll all this out for you, but I'll show you what you do anyhow. Because I'd rather bake quiche for you. But this pie crust will work. Yeah, that's what he says. It will too work. Just give it a chance. Put it on a sheet of wax paper, and then with your fingertips, you don't want to get this too warm, see? With your fingertips, flatten it out. Keep the edges as round as possible. And then on the top, you put another sheet of wax paper, and then take after it with a rolling pin, working from the centers out, always. You see? Turn it around, and nothing flat, you'll have a nice pie crust. I just wanted you to see that, yes, I could do it. Good Lord, if my mother's watching, I bet she'll call and tell me I should have let it set for 15 minutes first, because I forgot to tell you that. After you mix the dough, after you mix the dough, let it sit wrapped up in wax paper for about 15 minutes, and it'll be easy to work with. There, you see how nicely that came out? It's terrific. It'll work. Now, what do you put that in? Quiche pans have all kinds of different forms. The common one that you and I would normally find is simply a 9-inch pie plate. You've seen these. The fancy ones that come from France are found in, you can find them in glass, or I have one here of porcelain. They're very easy to use, and they're very attractive. When you take this egg pie to dinner, you see, to the table, you want it to look classy. So that's what we've got for you. Let me show you you put them in the pie shell here, and then we want to load the pie shell with beans in order to keep it from bubbling up when you're cooking it. And the final result, let's see, I have one here somewhere. Here we go. The final result is something like this. I place some aluminum foil in my pie pan, you see, and then I put some beans in. These happen to be old pinto beans, and you can use them over and over again. And then you bake the pie shell. There, you see, it's all ready to go now. You bake the pie shell at 400 degrees for about 12 minutes. Got that? With the beans and the aluminum foil inside. Got it? After 12 minutes, the pie shell is ready for filling, because I don't like soggy pie crusts. So if you bake them first, you won't have that soggy event. And don't throw away the beans, but don't try and cook them either. Next time you want to make another pie shell, use the same old beans. Talk about frugal. Well, no point in wasting them. All right, here's a pie shell. What do we do with it? One of my favorites, fresh asparagus quiche. Terrific idea. It's very, very easy. It's so easy that it's embarrassing. Where's a wooden spoon here? And I'll show you what to do. I have sautéed some asparagus, fresh asparagus, sautéed it in a little bit of butter, and we'll simply put it in our quiche filling. And let's see, what else would I like? I like some dill. Some dill, dried dill weed would be perfect with this one. Not too much. Measure these things in your hand first, remember? So otherwise you'll have a terrible time when the kid comes running in from the yard and he claims he's just been murdered by the neighbor boy and it's just a cut in his finger, but you lose track and you don't know what you've poured in there. So use it in your hand first. Pour it in your hand first. All right, now let's mix a batch of filling, and I want to show you how to make a whole bunch of filling, and you can just use it in all sorts of quiche. It's a very simple recipe. Clean bowl. Here's a basic filling for good quiche, 4 eggs. Now this is going to serve a lot of people, so don't think that I'm using too much butter fat. 1. Look at that. You just noticed that I have several of these mixing bowls. I do have to have several. I enjoy these. And if you have an extra one around, why, you don't have to keep stopping and cleaning. Now, this is our basic liquid. We have 4 eggs. I want 3/4 of a cup of half and half, or something like cream if you're really into that sort of thing, really a lush, 3/4 of a cup. Look at that. He's measuring things today. Well, it happens. 3/4 of a cup of cream, or half and half, which is what I'm using, and then 1 1/4 cups, 1 1/4 cups, I'm sorry, 1 1/4 cups of milk, and in this case I'm using low-fat milk so that I don't have quite so much butter fat. That gives me 2 cups of milk and cream, right? 3/4 of a cup of half and half, 1 1/4 cups of milk, and we're ready now to whip that up, and we're going to have a basic quiche filling. Nothing to it. If you whip your eggs first, you'll probably have a smoother blend. I should have done that, and I didn't. It's hard to remember all the things that I would normally do in my kitchen when I'm talking with you, you know. I always remember them too late. There we go. And that's our filling for quiche. This will normally fill a good 10-inch quiche dish, or probably 1 1/2 9-inch pies. So you're going to say, well, then how do you figure out what you're making? Well, I'll show you. It depends on how much filling you put in. Okay, there it is, all set to go. And let's fill a quiche here, and I want to get one of these in the oven for you. I want to get several in the oven. In my shell now, I have the fresh asparagus, which I've sautéed in a little butter. If you buy frozen, it'll work just fine. Don't worry about it. I have some mixture all ready to go. So I'm going to put some of the egg and milk mixture in the top of the pie. Just fill it right up. If you're going to make these really full, then you might want to do this in the oven. That is to say, set it on the rack and then pour in the mixture, the milk and egg mixture. Little pepper, tiny smidgen of salt, and that one's ready to go in the oven. Let's put it in right now. Oh, be careful with this now. You don't want a mess in your hands. I'm going to bake this at 375. Goodbye, my dear. There you are. I'm going to bake this at 375 for 35 to 40 minutes, something like that, so that when you put a spoon in the center, or a knife in the center, it will come out dry. Let me show you how. you see, I just happened, ouch. Oh, ho, 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 ho. I just took these out of the oven just before you came. So I've got to find some room now and we can begin the party here. And here's an asparagus quiche. There's one. We're going to do a whole stack of these today, so let me, you just stick your knife in here, and if it comes out clean, you see, rather than all sticky with egg, you know that the pie is done. You don't want to dry it. And you don't have to serve a quiche at very hot temperature. You see, room temperature is fine, or nice and warm. That would be best. Second favorite one. You ready? This one is great. Well, I better give you the recipe first before I pull the thing on the back for you. One pie shell. Now this time I'm using a quiche pan from France of porcelain. These are imported by an outfit called Schiller and Asmus, and they're just beautiful things. Yes, they are expensive. You were right. They are expensive, but it's still fun. We're going to put some broccoli in this one that I have either blanched or sautéed. You can do either. How much broccoli? Well, it depends on how big your dish is. Cut it out. And then we want to add some sautéed onion, sautéed yellow onion. You remember, I normally have some of these sitting in the refrigerator all the time because I want you to have a good time when you cook. We've sautéed the onion and the broccoli in a little bit of butter perhaps, or we've blanched the broccoli in just plain water. A little oil in it will help keep color. You know what I mean? If you put some oil in blanching water, it will preserve the greenness of your vegetables. That's very important. It really does work. Okay, now we need a little bit of pepper and a tiny smidgen of salt and 1/2 pound of diced Swiss cheese. The plot thickens, doesn't it? There. And we'll fill that one. Oh, I don't have to keep filling these for you. You know what I'm going to do. Fill that one with the batter and put it in the oven. 375, 35 to 40 minutes. You're on your way. And let me show you what you get. I can't figure it out. Here it is. That's the kind of confusion I love. Isn't it great? When your kitchen is so full of yummy things that you can't figure out one from the other. This is the broccoli. You know what? I've just done it. That isn't the one I want you to see. Don't look at that. Let me get you the right one. Here it is. You want to recognize onions and broccoli. That's the mystery quiche. I'll tell you about that one in a second. Okay. No, that's hot. There is the quiche with the onions and broccoli. It's just delicious quiche. The third one that you've already snuck on me on is a lovely dish. I'll find another bowl here. A lovely dish of spinach and feta. It's very Greek. Very Greek. Okay, here we go. Now this one, I'm going to use a package of spinach, frozen spinach, and for heaven's sake, squeeze out the moisture. See, I've melted this down. Look at it. Feel the water that's coming out of this? And no, I don't know what else you can do with this water except to put it in a soup stock. That would be fine. All right, into the bowl we go here. Now we want to add, there we go. We want to add a little bit of lemon juice. And you know my old lemon juice trick here. Lemon reamer, huh? You can mix your quiche and things up, your spinach and things up ahead of time in another dish if you like. A couple tablespoons would be just fine of lemon juice. Look out for the seeds. There they go. Got them. And now we need a 1/2 pound of feta, all diced up. And if you don't know what feta cheese is, you've missed out on a great delight. Feta is a rather salty cheese, originally made of goat's milk, but it's cow's milk in our time, and it's marvelous stuff from Greece, packed in salt brine, so it keeps and keeps and keeps. Really delicious. Spinach, the feta. We need some parsley. I would suggest about 2 tablespoons of freshly chopped parsley. Just sprinkle it in here. See, we've got the feta. We've got that one now, spinach, lemon juice, parsley, the feta cheese. And now we're going to add to the top of this our batter, and then we're going to put some Parmesan on it. And put that one in the oven. And that's the mystery one that you've already seen. That was my fault. I can't complain to you for it. Here's the Parmesan. Fresh Parmesan or Romano. Now when you bake that one, yes, same temperature. You see, I do things kind of assembly style because that's the sort of mind that I have. I want to do things in a hurry. And if you plan things and organize things, you could cook for a party of 50 without any difficulty. My wife is always frightened when I say I have 40 people for dinner, or one night I fed 800 people. And all it takes is a little organization, and you can keep cooking like crazy. Yes, the 800 people was a mob. And this is the final product, the spinach quiche. which spinach and feta, which I think is really lovely. Very Greek and simply delicious for a dinner party. Now, one more here for you. And this one, I'm not even going to bother to put together. Well, I guess I can show you anyhow. I have leeks. Here's a shell. I have some leeks that I've sautéed. You know what the leek is, right? It's this great big fat creature that looks like an enormous scallion. And you want to slice him up and then sauté him. And it'll take, 3 or 4 nice leeks for a pie. Is it onion pie? It really is onion pie. And very popular in France. This is a delicious dish. And there's nothing to this one but leeks. Get that big creature out of the way. We're going to use some leeks, and we'll sauté those in a little bit of butter, by the way. And I'm going to use some Swiss cheese, half a pound of Swiss, into my pie. And then I'm going to put in my filling, my liquid, you see? There we go. Look, I have a whole pitcher of this stuff, and I just keep filling up pies. Wouldn't it be fun to have a quiche party some night, and you serve 5 different kinds of quiche, and just let your friends enjoy themselves? You can do it. And on the top, I want to put some leaves of the quiche, which is to make it look kind of floury, you see. If you blanch these in hot water first, they'll be much easier to handle than this. Throw them in boiling water. Anyhow, when you bake this down, let's shorten that one up a bit. There. When you bake this, you'll wind up with a pie like this. And you have quiche that is filled with beautiful leeks. I'll put that out for you. Where are we going to put this stuff? I have an idea. See if I can pull it off here. Because I'm running out of room. Excuse me, there. Let's put the leek over here. Oh, isn't that artistic? Jeffrey, you're going out of style here tonight. Okay, I need to get rid of this one. And let's go on now. Some of you don't like... Look at that. I had one of those pie pans with holes in the bottom, and it leaked through the crust. You'll have to do a better job than I. That's not good. That's why I really prefer glass or porcelain. There. Now, if you do not like to roll out pie crust and you still want to eat quiche, then you make a crustless quiche. And it is very, very simple. Let me show you how. And very delicious. Okay. Into our mixing bowl, we want to place 8 eggs. And I have mine all ready to go. So there are 8 eggs in the mixing bowl. Let's whip those up first. And then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. So that we'll get some kind of a semblance of blending here, you see. Eggs will not blend well if you mix them with other things first. So you need to blend the egg by itself first. Kind of break it down. Okay. There. Did I say 8 eggs? I was lying. There were 10 eggs in that bowl, and that's what I want you to use. This is going to serve a lot of people. You've got 10 eggs. And into that, we're going to add a half a cup of flour. We'll just throw all of these things in now. 1/2 cup of flour. And some baking powder. Here it is, a smidgen of baking powder. About a teaspoon. And then we want a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. If that's too much salt for you, fine, cut down. I'll be proud of you. You don't need that much salt anyhow. This is a good dish. It doesn't need it. Okay, 10 eggs, 1/2 cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and now the good stuff. The good stuff consists of 1 pound of cottage cheese. This is large curd. That's a 1.5 pound container, so you can see I'm just guessing. That's all right. And then 1 pound of jack cheese. Good Lord, this is really full of butterfat. Well, you're right. Actually, this is much richer than a quiche with a crust on it. And I'm not done yet. Are you ready for the final blow? Don't leave me now. 1 full stick of butter that you've just melted. But I don't want the butter to be hot because you'll cook the egg. You know what I'm saying? Melt the butter. I use my microwave. Melt the butter and then let it cool a bit and pour it in. There we are. While that's mixing, let me give you the recipe again. I have 10 eggs whipped up first. Then I've added 1/2 cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 pound of large curd cottage cheese, 1 pound of coarsely grated jack cheese, and then I poured in 1/2 cup or 1 cube, or for those of you who ask me what a cube is, because that's what we call it on the West Coast, a stick. Does that make it better for you? There it is. And this is very versatile. You can do anything you want with this. For instance, here's one batch, you see. For instance, if I put into this, oh, this is so good, 2 or 3 sautéed onions, you see, freshly sautéed onions, and a bit of caraway seed, whole caraway, just a smidgen. What's a smidgen? Oh, half of a teaspoon, I guess. Stir that up, pour it in a greased baking dish, 9 by 13, and you bake that at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. Turn your oven down to 350 and bake it for another 30 minutes, and you have something close to heaven. Absolutely marvelous. Basic mixture, you see, is very versatile. There. That's not quite 9 by 13, is it? I have a little left over. That's all right. That's all right. Now, when you bake this, remember now, 400 degrees for 15 minutes so that it can begin to set, and it will puff up. It'll just almost climb out of the dish. It'll be a beautiful dish. 15 minutes at 400, then let it, the oven, cut it down to 350, and it'll take about 35 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, before it sets up and firms up for you, and this is what you'll get. Now, see if I can figure out which one is which. Here it is. There. Look at this. He just goes on and on with quiche today. Ouch. There we go. That is a beauty. That is a beauty. That's an onion quiche, onion and caraway, and the Germans would call that, how does it say, Zwiebelkuchen, yeah? Zwiebelkuchen, which means egg pie. What else? What else? Let's try another. Into the same batch, if you were to add any kind of vegetables, zucchini, saute the vegetables first, though. Remember, you don't want to add a lot of moisture to a quiche. You always want to saute the vegetables first, or blanch them. Drain some of the water out of the vegetable, then mix it into your basic batter, either a quiche batter or a crustless quiche, which is primarily cottage cheese with the eggs, you see. Then you'll have great time. For instance, if you mix in blanched vegetables, or why don't you open a bag of peas and carrots, just for kicks, you see, and mix that in with your basic mixture. And here's the last one, I think, if I can figure out where to put it here for you. Here is another pie, a crustless quiche, and this one has peas and carrots in it. So it's going to add a little bit of color when you cut it. We should cut it and take a look at it. Or if you have a leftover batter, as I did a minute ago, why, this is fun. Children appreciate anything that is done on their terms. That is to say, if you make it in a small batch, they're really tickled. See if I can get one of these out for you. See what I've done? Little bitty porcelain. You can see by the size of my hand that this thing's only about 4 or 5 ounces. We didn't oil the bottom carefully enough. We're not going to be able to get it out. There he is. You can either serve him that way, or I think it's more fun to simply leave him in the bowl and serve them like that, you see. It's so much fun to come to the table with a plate. You know, you're going to serve everyone, you see. You know, cover that up, and you put some vegetables on the plate, and oh, I don't know what kind of meat and all. But when you come to the plate with a tiny little porcelain dish, isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that a lovely dinner? It's really, I think it's very important to kind of do something very flamboyant for your guests. I had a marvelous dinner last night in Wheeling. If the Driscolls are watching, did they feed me. Now, you're all going to wonder who the Driscolls are. Well, they called me up and wanted me to come for dinner, and I went. We had a fine time. I want to cut the onion quiche for you and show you what it looks like. So let's get it in here, and we can taste this. Zwiebelkuchen, yeah? There we go. In answer to your question, several of you have written me and said, who eats all of the food that you prepare? Well, I have a lot of people around here that eat this food, and I take good care of them. There, one bit of Zwiebelkuchen. Do you see how easily that'll come out of the pan? Once you get the first slice out, of course, this is the hard one. Once you get the first slice out, you're all set, and we can have a great time. In answer to another one of your questions, you've written me and asked about whether or not I wear the same tie each time, whether or not we do the shows all in one day. No, it takes a long time to do a show. And yes, I have several ties. Oh, and no, my wife doesn't come and clean up the kitchen. Those are the most commonly asked questions that I have. So now they've all been answered, and you won't have to worry about it again. Here we go. Let me try this. This is the onion crustless quiche with caraway seed. Tastes just like northern Germany. You know that? There you have it. Not northern Germany, but the Alsace-Lorraine region, which is in the northeastern portion of France, right on the German border. So this pie is really kind of international. And today we've done a Greek one. Well, look, all kinds of them. Very French, a leek quiche. This one is probably my favorite, I think. Very delicious. Then we have an asparagus quiche. No, that one's my favorite. No, then we have a broccoli and onion quiche up here that's simply delicious. And this is the Greek feta cheese and spinach quiche. And then we have the Zwiebelkuchen from Germany and the crustless quiche with vegetables. So you have how many possibilities? Well, try chopping up some leftover chicken. Throw together anything you have in your kitchen, put it in a quiche, and two things will happen. One, you'll get rid of all kinds of leftovers. Two, you'll cut down on the cholesterol content because you're not serving a lot of red meat for your family. And, of course, the third thing is you're going to have a very elegant time. And that's the point of frugal cooking, and certainly that's the point behind the gourmet. So until we eat together again, this is the Frugal Gourmet. I bid you peace. Bye-bye.